off to recoup from that. Ian Kinsler gets a mental day off. That, according to Ron Washington. Can you explain a mental day off?
Well, he's played every inning of every game, and Ian Kinsler been struggling a bit as of late. Needs a time off, and that's the thing. This game, not only is it physically demanding, but mentally, you also need a break.
Strike to Vizquel. Now, Kinsler, about a month into the season, was hitting .420. Right now, he's hitting .295. So, yeah, just kind of a chance to catch his breath. High fly ball from Omar Vizquel, and way out there is Matsui to make that catch. They are battling it for the silver boot. That's what's at stake, and the Rangers have won the boot more than the Astros have. But what's strange, I guess, about that, Eric, is that the Rangers actually have won fewer overall games in this series. And not only do they have more silver boots, they have outscored the Astros by 55 runs. But they're 24-25 for a record.
Well, and how about this? The silver boot is finally silver. It used to be crystal until it took a jump. Good night now. So now it's silver.
Platinum boot would be the next one, I guess. And David Murphy is quickly behind 0-2. He was a Houston native. Was a big-time Astros fan growing up, just north of here in Spring. Moeller strikes him out.
Well, that was all about location right there. You see Pudge Rodriguez setting up in the outer half of the plate. Brian Moeller hits his spot right on the corner. The previous pitch, an up and in fastball that Murphy chased. Just great location in that sequence for Brian Moeller.
Here's a guy that dominated the home run derby last year, led the American League in runs batted in. Not a lot of first pitch magic this year from Josh Hamilton, and I think, Eric, because of what you just saw, nobody's giving him a first pitch fastball.
Well, he's not going to sneak up on anybody, and you know what he did last year during the season in the home run derby.
He grounds to first. Pretty nice beginning for Brian Moeller, an 8-pitch inning. Scott Feldman goes to work for Texas when we come back. Astros lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Born Tejada, Berkman, and Carlos Lee. Hunter Pence, who grew up watching the Rangers play in Arlington, and Jeff Blum and Pudge Rodriguez, one of the guys that Hunter Pence watched play in Arlington, Texas, growing up. Scott Feldman grew up in San Francisco. He was a Giants fan, and just happy to have a gig in the big leagues. A guy that was supposed to be a reliever has found his way back into the starting rotation, has been very good of late. And we'll check the sprint pitcher profile for the big right-hander, Scott Feldman.
Well, with some injuries, he's found his way into the starting rotation. He's been effective because he's induced a lot of ground balls, kept the ball down in the zone, has a tendency to give up home runs, but not yet this year. Third time means that once guys see him for maybe the third time around in the lineup, they start to get a bit comfortable. That has been what's gone on so far this year. So look for him to maybe go 6, 7 innings, and then Ron Washington go to that bullpen.
Bourne only has 7 career home runs, but one of them was against Scott Feldman. And sure enough, what you're talking about, there used to be kind of a proclivity to give up those long balls, and Feldman, as a starter this year, has absolutely kept the ball in the yard. Michael Bourne has reinvented himself this year. He's close to a 300 hitter. He's leading the National League in stolen bases.
Well, you talk about reinvented himself. What he's done is he's played within his ability. He's using his speed, hitting the ball the other way.
Omar Vizquel, who we know and love as a shortstop, he can play some second base apparently too. That's a new one on Omar, but he wears it well. Murphy, Bird, and Cruz in the outfield for the Rangers. Vizquel will go to the Hall of Fame as a shortstop, but Elvis Andrus is a shortstop of the future for Texas. Vizquel gets a chance at second today. And a 6'5" catcher, Jared Saltalamacchia, back there for the Rangers. Now this guy was a Gold Glove talented shortstop himself, Miguel Tejada. He drives it to right. Nelly Cruz is back at the wall, and a fan touched it. It's called a home run. Fielding Culbreth is the first base umpire. He's closest to it. And Nelson Cruz is going to argue that the fan reached over, but it goes for now as a home run for Miguel Tejada.
Well, as you mentioned, Josh, fielding Culbreth, as you see Brian Honora, the home plate umpire, fielding Culbreth at first base, the closest umpire to the call. He's running out there. You see Cruz up there, and that definitely, the fan has his hat over the fence, the white hat. Now watch this come in right there. You see that? There's the white hat. There's the ball. Not sure if he would have been able to catch it, but definitely a distraction. Now there's nothing about a distraction.
Well, here's what I'm thinking is that, I mean, what it looked like is the ball hit the very top of the wall, came back. Nelson Cruz never did play it back in because that finger was in the air from fielding Culbreth saying that's a home run. If for whatever reason they decide that they'd like to reverse this thing, where do you put the runner?
Second base. Or if you're in your backyard, you have to do it over. I'm going to have to say second base. It's the right call in that it did. It hit the top of the wall and came back in.
That yellow line, as we learned last year when the umpires came and talked to us announcer types, that's there really for decoration.
That's for fun.
Yeah,
that's for fun, too.
The yellow line really doesn't mean that much.
The review, that's what I'm talking about. Have you been part of a review yet?
This is my first.
I'm excited.
This will be Ron Washington's first. Somewhere Ed Hockley weeps. You can do this in baseball now. You can go and
only on home runs.
Right. You can go to the videotape. Now, again, keep in mind the yellow line is there basically for decoration. It is going to be over the yellow line. It looks like the ball hits and then comes back on the field.
Back in. It does it now. If it would have hit the fence and then hit a fan beyond the fence and come back in, it's a home run. But as you mentioned right there, it does not look like it hits anything after it hits the top of the wall and then comes back into the field of play.
The yellow line has been described to us as a guideline, and in places like Cleveland and Baltimore, it's useful. But a ball actually has to clear the wall for it to be a home run.
You know, it almost looks like there's a little ridge beyond the yellow line, and maybe it hits the little ridge and then shoots back in. You know, and that's the interesting thing about all the new ballparks these days. There's so many quirks, and every park plays differently. There's no uniform way that, okay, if it goes over this, then it's a home run. And the way ballparks are structured now, it really, as an outfielder, you've got to go out there and look at all the intricacies of each respective ballpark that you play in.
This ballpark in particular, especially in left center, it's very confusing for all concerned. That doesn't even take into account the tricked up hill that they've got in center field. So, well, for now, it's 1-0 Houston. Miguel Tejada hitting his 5th home run of the year. Nelson Cruz never did run after the baseball, and had he even thought maybe I should, my guess is, Eric, that was kind of trumped by Fielding Culbreth waving that arm around, right, waving that finger saying that's a home run.
All right, so let's play a game. What's your guess? What are they going to do? I'm saying second base. I'm putting everything on it. He's going back to second base.
Yeah, if I had to guess.
You have to guess.
Well, then I say second base,
okay,
too.
Here we go.
Hoping to be contrarian just because. But Scott Feldman throws 4 pitches in this game. Now he's got to wait a while. He's just trying to stay loose. He's just kind of playing catch with Jared Saltalamacchia. The Rangers have done a nice job of not only not allowing home runs in general this year, but they've been keeping teams off the scoreboard early. That's only the 9th run they've allowed in the first inning of any game this year, if it stands.
I'll tell you what, as a hitter right now, you're saying, look, I hit that thing out of the park. I got to have that. Miguel Tejada not displaying much power the first month of the season. Starting to drive the ball like he's capable. Been hit for a great average.
And Ron Washington was the guy we were just talking about. Tejada as a Gold Glove type in Oakland. The guy that hit him hundreds of ground balls day after day is Ron Washington. And Ron was always one of Miguel Tejada's biggest supporters, biggest champions, as Tejada grew from a kind of a skinny little slap-hitting shortstop into a power-hitting guy, and a guy that became a defensive tour de force. Now Ron Washington is hoping that his guy does not get his due. And our umpires, Brian Honora, Fielding Culbreth, Gary Cederstrom, Jim Wolf. Gary Cederstrom is the crew chief, and he's got the ultimate yes-no vote right now.
Well, I think what they've got to be discussing after watching the replays ourselves is what to do with the runner. I mean, I don't think there's any question that the ball came back into play. It did not appear to hit a fan or anything beyond the fence. But because Fielding Culbreth waved home run, everybody stopped play.
Yeah, essentially blowing the play dead, to put it in the football parlance. So I think you're right. I mean, to take this long to look at it, I think probably the discussion is more what to do with Tejada.
Where are they going to mark the ball? What yard line?
All Tejada knows is he hit that pitch pretty well, and give Miguel Tejada some credit. It looked a lot like the home run that Nelson Cruz hit to win the game last night, and just a few hours later, there's Nelly Cruz in pursuit of that ball instead of being the one that actually hit it. Again, that was a 6-5 game yesterday. The Rangers in 10 innings. A game where the Astros trailed 5-0. And very gamely came back to knot it up. But then Nelson Cruz broke it open with that opposite field home run to really about the same part of the park.
You know, what was interesting about that home run, too, it was on the inner half of the plate. Nelson Cruz did a great job of keeping his hands inside the ball, strong and powerful. Hit a couple home runs in his last couple of games. Provided the game winner last night for Texas.
And for the Rangers, that got them back on the winning track. They had won 7 straight before going to Detroit. They're going to say this is a home run. And now the train whistle blows. And now the celebratory jump. All right, we'll take another look at it. And, you could be right, Eric, with that ridge behind the line. Let's see. I don't know. I mean, it dances on top of that wall, it looks like.
The only thing that can be said is that ridge is beyond the yellow line and beyond the wall. It's got to be behind the wall. And if that's the case, then that makes sense. But if that green ridge is right above it, hey, they got it right. Good for them.
So now Feldman has allowed a home run as a starter, but it took a while to make sure of it. A 7-minute review delay. And a splintered bat from Berkman. Davis crosses body throw to Scott Feldman covering.
Really a nice play by the first baseman, Chris Davis, right there. Davis was right and feeding the pitcher.
Davis telling us before the game that he had a great conversation with Lance Berkman yesterday when they were at first base together.
Yeah, he gets to his right, and the good thing about that right there, Josh, is he doesn't throw it to the base. He throws it to the pitcher. A lot of guys try and lead the pitcher at first base. Get it to the pitcher as soon as you can.
Lee with a pop-up in the shallow left, and Elvis Andrus drifts back. He makes the catch to end a weird inning. A 7-pitch inning that took 8 minutes. And the Astros lead 1-0. Not a lot of certainty about a ball that Nelson Cruz was chasing about 5 minutes ago. About more like 10 minutes ago now. There was a long delay talking about whether or not Miguel Tejada had homered. Our Chris Rose will have more on that in just a moment. Nelson Cruz, you mentioned, had a home run last night that broke open a 5-5 tie. Now Nelson Cruz hits a towering fly ball towards left to his former Milwaukee teammate Carlos Lee. Let's bring in Chris Rose. And Chris, what do you have for us?
All right, guys. During the break in between half innings, I talked to the home plate umpire, Brian O'Nora, and I asked him, well, what did those guys see? And Brian had to hang out on the field while they went back and looked at the replay. They said what happened was ball hit the top of the wall, then it went into the crowd is what they're saying. That would make it a home run. Now, if it hits the top of the wall and then bounces back into the field of play, that could be a different question. But from their vantage point, it bounced and went into the crowd, thus making it a home run. I think we should just keep running that video like the Zapruder film, just back and forth and back and forth.
I thought from what we just saw, you could see that the ball hit the top of the wall. And frankly, I mean, maybe they've got a different angle than we do, Eric, because Blaylock swings and misses. I didn't see it actually get into the crowd like Brian O'Nora said.
Yeah, from what we saw, and remember, Brian O'Nora did not see it. The other three guys went in to watch the replay, but it did not appear to us at all that it hit a fan or went into the stands.
Blaylock trying to check his swing and on appeal. Yes, he did. That's Jim Wolf down there. Blaylock getting a chance to play in the field for the Rangers today. Been DHing most of this year. He tops the ground ball to second base. Chris Davis will come up next. And all right, we'll go back and check it out again. Miguel Tejada slaps it to right. Does it get into the stands? They looked at it for 7 minutes and determined that it did get into the stands. And the post-mortem celebration right there, 1-0 Houston. Chris Davis bouncing one foul. And Eric, we were talking just before we went to break about how Davis hitting a disappointing 209. Got to hang out with Lance Berkman for a bit yesterday. He said Berkman gave him some great advice. He said, you know, I know that you're probably looking up there. It says 209, 210, whatever. You got to tell yourself, you know what? I'm the best 209 hitter in baseball right now.
Well, it's 209 in the big leagues. That's another thing you can tell yourself.
He said they don't take those 10 home runs away from you.
No, but you know, you can tell. You know, when you're going up to the plate, and, you know, up on the scoreboard it says 209, and you know you're walking up there, you're going, oh, geez, come on. I mean, I'm better than 209. It's a constant reminder. But this game, it's a game of failure. It's a grinding game, and it's mentally the most taxing professional sport there is.
Strike 3 called, and now he's hitting 205. Moeller 6 up, 6 down. And back in just a moment on Fox. Careful checking those lineup cards. That kind of undid the Astros just the other day. Hunter Pence definitely batting fifth for Cecil Cooper today, and definitely leading off the bottom of the second inning. The Astros have a 1-0 lead on a somewhat controversial home run. Feldman scrapes the corner here to Hunter Pence, who was drafted by the Astros and then 5 days later signed his pro contract when the Astros came through Arlington for this very series, the Interleague Series. Hunter Pence went to that game as a fan that night, having signed his Astros contract just hours before. Now here he is playing in the Lone Star Series instead of observing.
Well, Hunter Pence, one of the positive things that have happened for the Astros up to this point. Cecil Cooper speaking with him prior to the game. I mean, he's entrenched himself in that fifth spot, been consistent all year long.
Called back, he takes a strike, as it turns out. You know, you talk about a positive presence, too. I saw somebody say that if Hunter Pence had a tail, it would wag all day long. He's just so happy to be here doing this for a living, you know. He is happy to take a walk. Good Hunter, good boy. Jeff Blum comes up next. The Astros started 1-6 this year, and in losses 5 and 6, they got shut out in both of those games. Things have gotten a lot better since then. And it does appear to be a wide open National League Central. Runner goes. Saltalamacchia throws. The tag is in time. Got him. Elvis Andrus reaching across and got his man.
Well, Saltalamacchia making a great throw. Nice pick by Andrus. And you watch, Pence comes off the bag right here. He stays with the tag, and that's when he gets him out. You see second base umpire Gary Cederstrom waiting to make the call, watching Pence go past the bag, right on it. Nice throw by Saltalamacchia as well.
But a great point by you. Andrus basically just kept the glove stapled to the body, right? So just in case he hydroplaned and went by, then he's out.
Well, you know, in getting back to that, what a lot of middle infielders will do is while they're applying the tag, they're pushing the runner as well, trying to continue his momentum past the bag. That's why when you slide into second, you got to really grab that bag. If you don't, now watch Andrus. Now see, he stays with it, and he came off a little bit, but he's not afraid to just, hey, let's nudge that foot along. But a lot of guys, again, will try and help that runner past the bag.
So it becomes kind of an aggressive game of twister out there. You can keep him off there and hope the umpire's watching.
I like the analogy. Twister, huh? Breaking out the 70s games.
You had to have played twister at some point. Ball one to Pudge Rodriguez. Left hand yellow, right hand.
I'm going to leave that alone, Josh.
All right. Just thought I'd throw it out there for you. Give you some rope. Pudge Rodriguez honored before the game today. He recently hit his 300th career home run. A couple of other Astros might get to that total before the year is done, too. Berkman's getting close. Carlos Lee is only 11 away. This is not home run 301. It's a ground ball to third. Pudge Rodriguez is out, and it stays 1-0 Houston today on Fox. that. And I would think if you're a Texas Rangers fan, you're used to that. Pudge Rodriguez for years led the American League in caught stealing percentage. Before that, Jim Sundberg was usually right up there in that department. Saltalamacchia last year at one point, Eric, was 1 for 24 throwing out opposing base stealers. So suffice to say, he's made an adjustment here in 09.
Well, a real credit to him coming to spring.
Going to send one way up in the air here. Miguel Tejada's got it. We'll get back to Saltalamacchia in just a moment. It's time now for the Bank of America Fan Cam. I want to show the world it's not like, it's love. Get MLB banking only from Bank of America. Chris Rose, ladies and gentlemen. Clang, clang, clang went the trolley or some such. What you got?
I'm like Bobby Bacala's character. I like playing with trains from Sopranos. So this is, I guess next door is Union Station. They run all the trains. They used to have train tracks running through here at this property. So they have the train up here. I'm in left center field. I got a great view of the game. It's pretty cool up here, I got to tell you. Elvis, hit one up here. Come on.
What is that cargo that you're hauling? I guess those would be oranges, right? We are at Minute Maid Park. So.
Yes, those would, and they are larger than Barry Bonds' head. Is what I can tell you.
I gotta believe you are one of the best dressed train conductors I've ever seen.
Hey man, we're taking the game. It's like Connie Mack. Let's wear suits in the dugouts. That's what we do.
Andrews, a ground ball is short, and I'm sorry, sir, you didn't get your requested home run up there.
That's all right. You know what? I am hopeful in interleague play that the pitcher can deliver.
Well, Scott Feldman is about to bat now, and he is on record as saying the one thing he wants to accomplish in his life, it's on the bucket list as a big league player. He wants to hit just one that leaves the yard. Now, unfortunately, he's a lefty swinger, so you're probably out of luck here. But.
Hey, listen, if Pujols could get it up this direction, then maybe Feldman can. We're starting the Feldman 09 campaign today.
Well, that's a huge maybe, but...
Okay, yeah, that's not going to do it.
No, well, he was 1 for 3 last year, Chris, if that helps.
Yeah, I heard it was a bunt single. What was it?
No, right down the line at Shea Stadium, which no longer exists. Outside to Feldman. Now, if they're going to pitch him outside, Chris, towards that outside corner, he can muscle one out your way.
Yeah, I don't think so. All right, guys, I'm going to walk back and do some work.
All right, nice chatting with you.
Thanks. Next stop, behind home plate.
1-2 the count now. And a locomotive, one of the cool accoutrements here at this facility. This is not your father's Astrodome.
Way to drop out the verbiage right there.
You like that?
I like it.
The bucket list still is in progress here for Scott Feldman, the comebacker. 9 up, 9 down for Brian Moeller. 1-0 Houston. On top, and Scott Feldman, a guy that actually was drafted after his freshman year of college by the Houston Astros, but did not sign. The Astros made him a draft and follow, did not sign. He went back into the draft the following summer. The Rangers scooped him up in the 30th round. And here he is in the Rangers rotation. All of a sudden, and you talked about this, Eric, pitching, which used to just be the death of the Texas Rangers, it is actually a strength.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with Mike Maddox, the new pitching coach for the Rangers.
Pitching to contact, that's what they're asking guys to do. There's some contact right away from Kaz Matsui. We'll get back to that topic in just a moment. First, let's get to Cecil Cooper. We talked to the Astros manager just a moment ago about his pitching. Brian Moeller in particular looking real good so far.
Well, you know what? Brian is a command guy, and he's a veteran. He knows how to get it done, and when he's throwing like he's throwing right now, he's going to be tough to handle. He's able to spot his fastball, use his slider, and also use his changeup, and every once in a while he'll even give you a cutter.
Coop, talk a little bit about the exciting play of your young stars, Michael Bourne and Hunter Pence.
Well, I'll tell you what, those two kids have been probably my most consistent players. Was hoping, when they came into this year to see some growth and some maturity, and we've seen that. They've both been very consistent with their bats, and their defense has just been outstanding. And you know what? They're two really good kids that want to play every day, and that's kind of what you want with your young players.
Coop, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right. Feldman to Moeller for a strike. And the count 1-2. Houston is 18-22 right now. 7 games back in the NL Central. Moeller puts it in play. And Scott Feldman, again, the only run so far. That home run by Miguel Tejada that was reviewed. Went to the replay over that one. But, Eric, getting back to the whole pitching and defense thing that is now very much about the Texas Rangers. Everyone saw last year what happened when a young team improved its pitching and defense. Tampa Bay did it and went to the World Series. And as Rangers GM John Daniels has said, the notion that you're either young or contending has kind of been disproved now by Tampa Bay. You can do both.
You can do both. And I think for the Texas Rangers, it emanates from the top. And that goes with Nolan Ryan, who challenged some of the pitchers, get in shape, take the ball, want the ball, go 6, 7 innings. The hiring of Mike Maddox. They had 2 special camps this winter in November and January for the pitchers. And it really just changed the mindset, emphasized pitching. There's Nolan right there. And it's obviously translated into success because this team gets the ball, they go out, they throw strikes, they involve their defense. And that's one of the reasons they're in first place right now.
And it's funny because obviously Nolan Ryan is the all-time strikeout king in this sport. He was all about avoiding contact, but what he sees working, and he's been absolutely right, is go ahead. If you've got defense behind you, go ahead and hit a bat.
Well, and you can avoid contact when you're throwing 97 miles an hour in a good off-speed pitch. There's Mike Maddox right there, came over from the Milwaukee Brewers. But again, it involves your defense. It keeps guys involved, staying in the game. They're going to make the great play. They're not just standing around out there.
Shattered bat. Elvis Andrus scoops the baseball up and gets a speedy Michael Bourne. The fielding prodigy, as he has been described, Elvis Andrus takes care of business, and it stays 1-0. Valspar, Paint Valspar, the beauty goes on. By Caduet. And by Bank of America. Show the world it's not like, it's love. Get MLB banking only from Bank of America. 9 up, 9 down for Brian Moeller today. Omar Vizquel, in his 21st big league season, stands in there now to lead off the top of the 4th. A lot of movement on everything Moeller's been throwing today.
You know, and it'll be interesting to see the second time around. This Ranger ball club very aggressive in their approach the first time through. Didn't take a lot of pitches, swinging at a lot of first pitches. You know, and that's something that got them in trouble in Detroit, where they were just swept. Winning didn't work counts, and for every good offense, there's something behind it. It's not just hitting home runs, it's a plan.
The work the count mentality did not show up these first 3 innings. You're right. Moeller needed only 25 pitches to get through 3 innings. Moeller finally going to a 2-0 count to Vizquel here. Now it's 2-1. Again, the Rangers are without Michael Young and Ian Kinsler today. It's the first time that those two guys have been on the active roster for the Rangers simultaneously and have been out of the lineup in a game for Ron Washington. If you're a Ranger fan, you've never seen, unless one of those guys was on the DL, you've never seen both of them sit. And different reasons today for doing so. Again, for Michael Young, though x-rays were negative, we're told, it was a sprained foot suffered last night as he went awkwardly back to first base. Ian Kinsler just needed a day off, said manager Ron Washington. Vizquel is going to bust up the perfect game with a base hit into left center. Fox Sports proud to support the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's research. The Michael J. Fox Foundation's goal is to drive the development of better treatments and a cure for Parkinson's. To learn more, please go to michaeljfox.org. And you and I are wearing the pins.
We are.
There it is, right there.
Got 'em up. There we go. There
What's
we
that?
go.
Yes.
Nice.
Fox logo. Michael J. Fox organization logo. And they are doing great work for a great cause. We're happy to throw our support behind it. Vizquel goes, and David Murphy throws the bat at the ball and fouls it. 42 years old is Omar Vizquel, running around like he's 22.
Well, and you can see this is a hit and run in this situation. Vizquel making sure that Brian Moeller is throwing home. You see him looking in as well as he's running towards second base to try to pick up the pitch. Not a bad play. Moeller has thrown a lot of strikes. Ron Washington employing the hit and run there.
Now Murphy trying to dump it into right, but on the run, Hunter Pence has got it. And the Astros outfield defense continues to be very good.
You talk about the defense of the Astro outfielder, Hunter Pence, very athletic. Speaking to Cecil Cooper prior to the game, he was mentioning how Hunter Pence is probably as good an athlete as there is in the big leagues. He can do everything. Run, throw. He's got that lanky type body. You talk about great athletes. Here's one at the plate, Josh Hamilton.
Not a lot of guys who weigh 240 can move as gracefully as Josh Hamilton. He's going to serve one to left. Long run for Carlos Lee. He won't get there. Vizquel takes a turn and goes to third, and Hamilton steamrolls into second base with a double. As we're talking about the grace of Hamilton, Carlos Lee's body doesn't move quite that way in pursuit of this ball.
No, you see Josh Hamilton, his head right on that. You see him focusing on the ball. He's not pulling out, keeps his head right on the barrel of the bat till he makes contact, drives the ball the other way, and then out of the box, never stops running. Omar Vizquel, he has the play in front of him, so he doesn't need to look at the third base coach. Again, if you're a runner, you don't need to pick up the coach if you can see the play yourself. Josh Hamilton heading into second base. I'd say Josh Hamilton, for size and speed, I mean, there's one other athlete that I've seen in person, and that's LeBron James. And he's on a whole nother sphere. But I did not realize how big Josh Hamilton is. I mean, you mentioned the 240, and he is graceful.
Here's another big guy with athleticism, Nelson Cruz. A couple of former Milwaukee Brewers hitting cleanup for the respective teams today. Carlos Lee for the Astros, Nelly Cruz for the Rangers. That one is down and in to Nelson Cruz. And yesterday, Nelson Cruz in a 5-5 game. Opposite field off the Troy Hawkins.
And again, just to show how strong he is, that's an opposite field, but that pitch is up and in. It's on the inner half of the plate. Not many guys can go the opposite way on an inside pitch.
Well, and pound for pound, I mean, when you think about it, Hamilton and Cruz, Carlos Lee, and Hunter Pence. I mean, those are big guys, big outfielders running around out there in this series. And Carlos Lee, as we mentioned, I mean, has it more of a lumbering look to him, but he's super athletic too.
Yeah, and still, Josh Hamilton is on his own page. I mean, that guy physically can do things that nobody else can. And again, with that size, would not want to be running into him.
The 1-2 from Moeller. He's going to miss 2-2 with Blaylock on deck. There's a lot of outfield here, too. You know, if you're looking at one of these big guys running one down, it's a great place to showcase.
Well, here you've got a 3-2 count right now. Nelson Cruz up with first base open. And this is where, as a hitter, you've got to be very disciplined. And you can't anticipate Moeller's just going to throw a strike. I'm looking at something maybe on the outer half of the plate, a breaking ball, or in off of the plate with a fastball. Goes with that little cutter away. If you're the pitcher right now, Ryan Moeller, you don't care. You see Ron Washington cooling off a little bit there. But you don't care if you walk this hitter, because then you keep the double play in order, or make the double play an option with the next hitter. You can get out of the inning. But if you feel like you have to throw a strike in this situation, you're really at the mercy of the hitter, because the hitter makes contact. It's a pretty good chance that at least one run will score in this situation.
Nelson Cruz turns on it and jerks it down the left field line. It is gone. Well, Eric, you talked about muscling one to the opposite field last night. But this is just turning on one. Hang time of about a second right there, and it's 3-1 Texas.
Well, and they tried to go inside with the fastball off the plate. See Pudge setting up in off of the plate. The problem is, if you don't get it in there, you're in a lot of trouble. You see where Pudge is. He's off of the plate. You see the plate over here. He's in off the plate. That ball over the inner half of the plate. Nelson Cruz does not miss it and demolishes it.
Blaylock trying to follow up, going into that left field corner himself. And it's going to end up as a foul ball right down the line. Nelson Cruz, maybe the latest and greatest late bloomer on the baseball landscape, Eric. Guys like Ryan Ludwig in St. Louis, Nate McLouth in Pittsburgh. Nelson Cruz, last year at the age of 28, finally got it going the way he wanted to.
Well, it's about getting an opportunity to play. It's about the manager, the coaching staff having confidence in you as a player. And that translates into confidence in yourself.
Blaylock, who just missed to left, is not going to miss to right. Around first on his way to second, motoring in there with a double. And Brian Moeller, who was perfect through 3 innings, having a devil of a time here in the 4th. There's that aggressive Ranger style of hitting that you're talking about.
Well, in the upper part of the zone, and you know, this is the second time around for this Ranger lineup seeing a guy like Brian Moeller. Brian Moeller does not have overpowering stuff. You see Hank Blaylock running into second. Moeller doesn't have overpowering stuff. He doesn't have that one great pitch, whether it's a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, a great slider. So if you see him a couple times, you're going to be more comfortable. You will have more success. You couple that with the fact that he is missing his spots, you have a 3-run inning with a runner on second base.
Brings up another soft-spoken, gum-chewing Texan. Chris Davis out of Longview, Texas, in the eastern part of the state. He says it's probably about a 70-30 split in Longview, Rangers fans to Astros fans. But he was telling us before the game he had posters of both teams all over his room. One of his prized possessions, his Pudge Rodriguez memorabilia. And how cool is it for Chris Davis? Come up there with Nolan Ryan watching this game, by the way, from about 2 rows back. And that's his boss. Now he settles into home plate, and there's Pudge. And there's Nolan.
Yeah, the only way it could get any cooler is if Pudge puts down a fastball right down the middle.
Davis requesting time. Davis's very first big league hit was here in Houston last year, about a 40-foot single up the third base line. Still the only hit in the big leagues he's ever had like that. It was his first one. And again, just a little bit of contact to hang in there. With Davis's power, you don't figure this guy to be the 40-foot single hitting type.
No, he's not the single hitting type, but the Rangers would like to see him make a bit more contact. Been dragged down by the strikeout. Here he found himself 0-2.
And now 0-3. The strikeout for Moeller, he needed that. Time for a direct TV game break. Let's bring in Chris Rose.
All right, Josh, we have lefty on lefty crime in the Bronx. It's Raul Ibanez, who's Major League leading 17th of the year. He leads the NL in ribs, top 4 in batting average. I
smell Triple Crown.
It's 1-1 in New York in the 4th. Remember, follow your favorite out-of-market team, only on DirecTV. Guys?
What a pickup Ibanez has been, huh?
Well, he really has. I mean, and then going from hitting that in the expansive Seattle Mariner Park, tough to play, tough to hit there, going to Citizens Park, one of the best offensive parks in the game.
Jared Saltalamacchia's first big league home run was there. He hit it off of Cole Hamels. With Saltalamacchia at the plate and Elvis Andrus in the on-deck circle. Well, those are 2 of the 4 guys the Rangers acquired from Mark Teixeira. And they love the 2 guys that we're not able to show you right now. Got Matt Harrison, one of their better starting pitchers right now. And a prospect by the name of Neftali Felice, who's supposed to be the key to the whole deal. He's not even here yet. The Braves have a history of trading so well. But I mean, right now it's a TKO on that deal going the other way. The Rangers were not going to re-sign Mark Teixeira. The Braves couldn't even re-sign Mark Teixeira. Saltalamacchia, Andrus, Harrison, and Neftali Felice.
Well, Mueller, a good breaking ball here in this situation, in a good spot. A good spot, not necessarily it's going to be a strike, but there's no way the hitter can hit there. You've got a Hall of Fame catcher behind the plate blocking that ball.
Been a long inning for Brian Moeller. Runs the count to 3-2. Saltalamacchia has only walked 9 times this year. He's one of those hyper-aggressive hitters that the Rangers have. A 28th pitch of the inning is due. Moeller doesn't like the sign that he's getting here.
Well, as you mentioned, coming into this inning, a total of 25 pitches. Again, the Ranger hitters seeing more pitches in each at-bat, being more patient, and not missing the mistakes that Brian Moeller has made.
Now he's out of the inning. But Nelson Cruz got him. A 3-run home run to make it 3-1 Texas. A 3-run home run in support of Scott Feldman. The Rangers lead the Astros on Fox today. Josh Lewin along with Eric Karros and Chris Rose roaming around for us today. Appreciate you joining us on Fox this afternoon. And the Rangers, who had a 7-game win streak until they got to Detroit, they were able to get back on that winning track yesterday. They have a 2-game lead on the Angels in the AL West. The Rangers have not made the postseason since 1999. As you look at Tejada heating up. If you missed it, first inning, Miguel Tejada. Was it or wasn't it? Home run number 5.
Yeah.
Nelson Cruz's home run left really no doubt. A thunderclap to left field, and Miguel Tejada certainly capable of the same thing. Pops it in the air beyond Vizquel, who drops his hat down, then goes and makes an over-the-shoulder catch. Omar's just such a fascinating guy to watch play baseball. Look at this.
Check that out. He takes his hat off with his right hand and throws it down.
I don't know if I've ever seen that. It's like, I won't be needing this, so I'm just going to take it off and lay it gently down and then go make an over-the-shoulder catch.
Check this out. There we go. Right hand. Let's throw that down. Very nice.
Getting his first ever start at second base. Not hurting for style points is Omar Vizquel. There's ball one to Lance Berkman. Berkman had a 3-run home run yesterday. Boy, he just clobbered the Rangers a year ago. It was 13 for 22 against them in this series. Line shot foul. Remember how hot Berkman was last May. He had that stretch where I don't think hot even begins to describe it well. He was 29 for 49 at one point. Did he? Yes, he did. Feldman with the strikeout. And Ron Washington, the Rangers manager, stopped by and chatted with us a moment ago following the Nelson Cruz home run.
Yeah, he's getting better every time he goes out there, and I think the last 2 days in Detroit he started putting some good at bats together, and he brought it on over here to Houston, and I'm so glad he did.
Talk a little bit about Scott Feldman and really what this whole pitching staff has meant to your early season success.
Well, they meant everything to our early success. By them keeping the ball in play, it's keeping our defense on their toes, and they're making all the plays out there. And as long as you can pitch a little bit and play some defense, you got a chance to be in every game. And that's where we've been all year, in games. And as many of them as you can be in, then good things can happen.
For you, Ron, it's got to be such a pleasure because of the attention to detail and everything you put on defense. To see these guys catching the ball so well, you got to feel real good about that.
Well, I really do, and I think all the credit go to those guys because playing defense is a pride thing. You know, you got to want to do it, and it has to be a mindset. And I think they realize if you can catch that ball, you can get off the field a lot earlier, and we are able to get up in here and do what we do best, is try to put runs on the board. So I'm very happy that they've bought into it, and they're taking pride in playing defense, and I love it.
Thank you, Wash.
Thank you, Josh.
Bye, man.
All right.
Carlos Lee, a base hit into left. And, yeah, it strikes me, Eric, that it had to just kill Ron Washington. I mean, this is a guy, and you know, because you played for him for a year in Oakland. He was the coach that was in charge of making sure the infield caught the ball and did what they were supposed to do. For the Rangers to be dead last in fielding percentage on his watch, and that happened for a couple of years. I would think that's like being in charge of a musical theater production if you're like a really good singer, and then all the reviews are, well, it was a good show, but the singing was just terrible.
Yeah, and again, for Wash, he's always emphasized defense, and you see where they rank fourth in the American League in fewest errors. But if you just need to understand how important defense is, I mean, you just look at the Rangers this year, 15 errors in April. They were 10-11. They've cut that down this month. They've gone 14-6. Only 6 errors this month. I mean, it's no coincidence that you limit the errors, you're going to put wins on the board. And you couple that with the great offense. You see Omar Vizquel. The rest of the guys out there. But they've bought into it. They go out, they work on their defense. And once they see the early returns, the success they're having in winning games, then they become believers.
High drive, Hunter Pence. But Nelson Cruz is there. And it stays 3-1 Rangers over the Astros on Fox. Taco Bell. We've been talking a lot about the Rangers' reversal of fortunes here from 2008 to 2009, talking about pitching and defense. Good defense makes better pitching, it can be suggested. And this guy right here, he's 20 years old. He is the youngest position player in the majors. Elvis Andrus, I'd suggest to you, Eric, is a huge part of why the Rangers have turned north in the standings.
Well, there's no question. His ability at shortstop. I believe Darren O'Day made a comment the other night. Looks like he's playing 10 positions at once because everywhere you turn, he's right there.
Everything's Elvis.
Yeah.
The Rangers have a really interesting dynamic. They've got the oldest and the youngest position players in baseball at the same position, short. Miguel Tejada, who splits the difference between 20 and 42 years old, cannot capture Elvis Andrus. He's aboard, and a guy that loves the whole pitching and defense thing, standing by with our Chris Rose.
You got that right, Josh. I'm with the Hall of Famer and now Texas Rangers president Nolan Ryan. And Nolan, it's one thing to have your team in first place here at near the end of May. It's another the way they're doing it with pitching and defense. It's got to bring a little smile to your face.
Well, we're real excited about their way they're playing because we're getting good pitching, we're getting extremely good defense, and then the hitting's been timely.
You're back in Houston, and you look up in the rafters. There's number 34 retired. 9 years spent with the Astros. If there's one mental snapshot you take away from that time, what was it?
Well, it would probably be Mike Scott's no-hitter to clinch that the Western Division.
Not your no-hitter, huh?
No, I would think that one because of us getting back into the playoffs.
Now, you see that short porch out there in left. I know you did your share of hitting over your career. You had 2 big league home runs. I imagine I would have smelled 30 or 40 if you played in this park, right?
Well, I would have been trying to pull, I can tell you that. I don't know. But it's pretty enticing if you're standing in the batter's box.
You remember who you hit your 2 homers off of?
Don Sutton and Charlie Palaio.
You remember everything. It's unreal. I can't tell you how many guys I asked that question to. They got no idea.
Well, when you only hit 2, you remember.
So what was it like making the move from Houston to Texas for you?
Well, I'm very comfortable with the Rangers because I finished up there and had 5 years with them. So it was kind of like coming home, same way here in Houston.
Well, continued success and enjoy the rest of the game. Thanks, Hall of Famer.
Thank you.
Josh?
All right, thank you, Chris. And Scott Feldman with the bunt, he got it down after all, moving Elvis Andrus. And that's got to be the first time that Don Sutton and Charlie Palaio have appeared in the same sentence.
Well, and Don Sutton, a Hall of Famer, so Nolan Ryan hit a home run off a Hall of Famer.
Future Hall of Famer here. You and I were talking before the game. I think we're both in agreement that Omar Vizquel deserves to be there.
Yeah, I absolutely believe so. I mean, for a 15-year period, I think he was the class of baseball at the shortstop position. Offensively, became a very productive player. Not the power guy, but somebody that could handle the bat, drive in runs. But as far as defense, just a joy to watch.
Only Ozzie Smith winning more Gold Gloves at that shortstop position. Omar wrote in his own autobiography several years ago that he doesn't think that anyone can play shortstop in the big leagues after the age of 37. And he's 42 now. And he's still playing that position beautifully.
Well, and he thinks that he could still play. He physically feels like he could play every day. I mean, the opportunity isn't there, and he understands the situation. But physically, he thinks, hey, look, I can still perform at the big league level night in and night out.
Yeah, and he's still doing that. Base hit left field. Carlos Lee kicks it. Elvis Andrus is going to come around to score. Will go as a hit and an error as Andrus races around and in.
Well, a nice job by Omar Vizquel as he shoots the ball to left field. Dave Anderson, the third base coach, holding Elvis at third, but when he sees the ball get away from Carlos Lee, he starts waving him in. Now, Omar Vizquel, you see running, he gets credit for the RBI, but really you have to go back to Scott Feldman, his ability to sacrifice Andrus into second base. And remember, Feldman doesn't have at-bats. He doesn't get to hit in the American League. So even more important, him being able to get the bunt down.
So the Rangers have scored the last 4 runs. They lead 4-1. Remember, they won yesterday in extra innings. The Lone Star Series, a battle for the Silver Boot. Strike on the corner to David Murphy. Murphy tags it over a leaping Berkman. Into the right field corner it goes, and at 42 years old, Omar Vizquel is being told, come on down. The relay throw on its way, and Vizquel is out. Down to third is Murphy.
Well, a nice job by Hunter Pence as he runs down the ball in the corner. Picks it up barehanded, makes a good, strong throw to Matsui, who turns and fires home. See Pudge there waiting for Omar Vizquel. See Omar sees that, he's running around. Now watch Hunter Pence, picks it up barehanded, just turns and throws. Now if he picks it up with his glove and makes a transfer, takes another step or two, Omar may be safe.
Nearly 24 Gold Gloves involved in that play at home plate. Omar Vizquel sliding in, and Pudge Rodriguez putting down the tag. Score at 9-4-2, and Murphy takes third. Hamilton, first pitch swinging, a bouncing ball to Berkman. And the Rangers settle for one here in the top of the 5th. A 4-1 lead in Houston on Fox.
That he doesn't need to make that block or worry about that collision. Omar out at home.
And it stays a 4-1 baseball game into the bottom of the 5th. Jeff Blum will take a strike from Scott Feldman. These Houston Astros trying to reverse a negative trend. This is a team that had 92 wins in 2004 and then went down to 89 the next year, then 82, then 73. They swung the pendulum back last year. 86 wins and very close to grabbing that wild card spot a year ago, but really they were undone by Hurricane Ike. Until the Storm's approach, they had won 14 out of 15. Then the damage, the dislocation, the chaos, the relocating of the series against the Cubs to Milwaukee. And that was pretty much the end. 2 days of playing the Cubs in front of a partisan crowd that had driven up from Chicago. They managed, one hit in 2 games, and it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, this year just have not been able to get on track. Lance Berkman, statistically okay, but not Lance Berkman-esque year yet.
Lum sends it into shallow right. This time Omar Vizquel keeps his hat on and makes the catch. Today's Gillette Power Trivia question. That's somewhat random. Can you name the big league player with the most career interleague errors?
It better not have anything to do with anybody broadcasting today.
Well,
that's all I got to say.
It's not me.
Wear the truck.
You were known for your defense, son. That can't be you.
Better not have been me.
All right, we'll find out soon. I doubt it's Pudge Rodriguez, owner of 13 Gold Gloves. Pretty soon he's going to have the record for most games caught. Carlton Fisk and Bob Boone each have just a handful more right now. Most of what he's accomplished in this game, he accomplished as a Texas Ranger, but that 300th career home run, that was as an Astro.
It was, and you know, I think probably the year that he was the most valuable player on his respective team, that he had the most impact, you have to go back to that 2003 Florida Marlin Championship ball club, where he was really the veteran leader on that ball club, led a young pitching staff offensively, hit third, fourth for most of the year, and really was the cog that led them to a world championship.
He had all those great years with the Rangers, but they only made the playoffs a handful of times and kept drawing the Yankees every year, and they just get completely demolished by the Yankees.
Remember, those teams where, you had the Juan Gonzalez, you had the Palmer, you had a bunch of other superstars, and that's why I would say, going back to that 2003 season, just a great year for Pudge.
And it was kind of ironic, I guess. Ranger fans looked wistfully at that. And, I mean, they wished Pudge well, and it was cool to watch him winning a World Series and being celebrated. But as a Ranger, that's what he accomplished.
In looking at those numbers and the consistency that he had, I think what makes it even more impressive that he did it playing in Texas with the heat and the way, playing a demanding position as catcher. I mean, for him to put up those offensive numbers, he is a definite Hall of Famer.
A position that takes such a toll on you. And I misspoke earlier. He's not yet 40. He's getting there, but he's 38. But yeah, as a 34-year-old, he flirted with the batting title much of that season. In 2004, broke Johnny Bench's record for most Gold Gloves by a catcher that year. That was your guy growing up, right? Johnny Bench?
Johnny Bench. Pete Rose.
Big Red Machine.
Big Red Machine.
Tim Burdick getting ready in the bullpen. I thought you were a Southern California guy. Why were you a Big Red Machine guy?
I was a Big Red Machine guy. The rest of my family were big Dodger fans, and that was a big rivalry. So naturally, I had to go against what everybody else wanted.
That somehow doesn't surprise me. Chris Rose, anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's weak. Southern California, root for your own team out there. Don't root for Ohio teams.
Chris Rose reporting.
Well, the Cavaliers must have won last night, right?
Could you hear me scream from down the street?
Yeah. Was that you?
Twice. When Turkoglu made that shirt, yeah. When Orlando made that shot, you screamed, and then again you screamed when LeBron saved you.
Yeah, here at the ballpark, that's what all the players were talking about when they came here. They were like, "Did you see the shot by LeBron last night?" I was like, "Yeah, I heard something about it."
They were all witnesses. Another foul ball. Pudge Rodriguez, an 11th pitch at bat here against Feldman. We'll get back to Chris Rose in just a moment. The DirecTV game break in just a sec. Boy, 6 straight foul balls here from Pudge Rodriguez. Feldman strikes him out. Took a while. Got it done. Now, that DirecTV game break with Chris.
Yeah, from the We're Getting Old file, John Mayberry hit 255 homers in his big league career. His kid, John Mayberry Jr., with his first, a 3-run shot for the Phils, and nobody's there to love him.
Silent treatment.
He's used to, here they come. No. Get away from me now. They're up 4-1. Follow your favorite out-of-market team only on DirecTV. Karos, did they do that to you for your first big leaguer?
I'm not even going to respond to that. First of all, I don't even remember the first big leaguer.
How do you
actually no? You know what? It was in San Diego. There we go. It was in San. I was trying to remember which one it was.
Who was it against? How do you not remember that?
I do. It's all coming back to me now. Craig Lefferts. That's not Don Sutton, but it's Craig Lefferts.
Couple of strikes here.
That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing, Karos. That it wasn't on the tip of your tongue. That's terrible. It's a big league homer. Your first one. You got to remember that.
There's so many of them, Chris. I'm just kidding.
So much love in this room right now. 1-2 the count. And John Mayberry Jr., by the way, dealt to the Phillies from the Rangers right at the end of spring training. He was a Rangers first-round pick a couple of Junes ago, or several Junes ago now. EK, if you could tell me who your 2nd through 11th big league home runs were against. Now we got something. I thought you'd remember your first.
The first was in San Diego, hometown.
Wave and a miss. Feldman strikes out Matsui, and it stays 4-1 Texas at the end of 5 on Fox. As a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. By Gillette Fusion, Gillette's closest, most comfortable shave. And by The Hangover, a new comedy from the director of Old School, in theaters everywhere June 5th. Nelson Cruz is responsible for this 3-run Texas Ranger lead. It's a 4-1 ball game into the 6th. And Nelson Cruz becomes the latest Texas Ranger to roll into double digits in terms of a home run total. 3-run homer in the 4th inning off Brian Moeller. Nelson Cruz was released by these Rangers last March. Any team in baseball could have had him, but he cleared waivers. And now looking to clear the wall and left. Nelson Cruz has done it again as he pounds one off the facing. And it's 5-1. He's got 3 home runs his last 4 at bats now, going back to late last night. And the Rangers are awfully happy that nobody claimed him on waivers last March.
Well, this ball just out over the plate. Cruz sitting on the first pitch. He gets that pitch really setting up on the outer half of the plate. You see Pudge, look at that. Has to move his glove over the inner half of the plate. Cruz keeps his hands inside, drives the ball to deep left center for a home run.
Blaylock trying to do it himself, drives it to right, and there it goes. Hank Blaylock hits one out, and it's 6-1. Homers on back-to-back pitches. And as we talk about the Rangers and why they're winning, we go on and on about pitching and defense. Well, there is also this.
Well, coming into today, second in the major leagues in home runs. Behind only the Yankees with 3 today, though. They move ahead of the Yankees. Will be first in Major League Baseball, assuming the Yankees haven't hit any. But, you know, I go back to, sure, Hank Blaylock hit it, but again, you look at where Pudge is set up on the outside part of the plate, and he's going with his glove over the inner half. And that's what happens at the big league level. When pitchers make mistakes, good big league hitters make them pay. You see what the Rangers just did in both of those situations with Cruz and Blaylock. Don't hit your spot, you hit it out of the park.
Pitching change, and time now for the Zantac relief pitcher profile. Heartburn, attack it. Zantac, the former Rice Owl, Tim Burdick. will deal a strike to Chris Davis. It is 6-1 Texas now. The Astros had the first run today on a Miguel Tejada home run. And the Rangers a flurry of home runs since then, including a pair from Nelly Cruz. Davis serves it to third. There's the first out of the sixth inning. Let's go back to the home runs on back-to-back pitches here in the sixth.
Well, it's all about location. You look where Pudge is set up. He's on the outer half of the plate right there. Look at that glove moving to the inner half. Completely misses his spot, does Brian Moeller. And because he doesn't have great stuff, Nelson Cruz crushes the ball. Again, look at my man. He's outside. What happens? Boom, look at the glove going to the center. Misses his spot. Brian Moeller does not have the type of stuff when you're talking about fastball, slider, or anything to get away with mistakes like that. The Rangers make him pay.
The Rangers still are not drawing a lot of walks. In fact, they don't have one today. With that aggressive approach, they've got 3 home runs and a 6-1 lead.
Well, and mind you, I mean, remember this Ranger offense is doing it without Ian Kinsler, without Michael Young. I mean, 2 important cogs in this offense.
Yeah,
Hank Blaylock there.
The 1 and 2 hitters in the order most times for Ron Washington. Again, Young with a sprain of his foot being held out today. He's hoping to play tomorrow. Ian Kinsler being given a mental day off, according to manager Ron Washington. And if you watched the game yesterday, you could probably even see it. Ian Kinsler just kind of looked like he was pressing a little bit.
You know, as a young player, though, you never want a day off. You feel like, I've got to play every day, every game, every inning. And really what Ron Washington is doing as manager is he's saving Ian Kinsler from himself. You don't realize it as a player, but look, you don't need to play every game. You're going to have your at-bats. And to take a day off here and there, you know, physically it helps, but mentally it is so refreshing. You come back the next day, you're rejuvenated, you're ready to go. And Ron Washington is a former player, is a coach, is a manager now. He knows that. Young players have to learn that.
Ron spent some time playing in Baltimore and got to know Cal Ripken Jr. very well. In fact, Cal at one point played in 8,200 innings in a row, and when he finally sat, it was Ron Washington that went running out there. So he knows that there are exceptions to that rule, but I mean, there's only one Cal Ripken.
I don't think this game was going to hinder Ian Kinsler's ability to break Ripken's streak.
Well, as you suggest, the Rangers are doing fine without Kinsler and Young today. Saltalamacchia down on strikes. And folks, next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, Andre Ethier leads the Dodgers into Wrigley Field to take on the Cubs. Or you might see Chipper Jones and the Braves taking on the Diamondbacks. Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Taco Bell returns next week at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on Fox. Check local listings for the game and start time in your area. Andrews with a foul ball. The Dodgers, by the way, at 29-14. And yes, the last several games have been without Manny Ramirez, but they seem to have enough left over to be just fine.
Well, and you know, you talk about Michael Young and Ian Kinsler not playing today, and guys coming in and then being able to still score runs without those 2 important players. Well, the Dodgers are much the same. The depth in that ball club, their bench, the team that Ned Coletti has assembled. And Joe Torre sits regulars just about every night. 2 guys here, a guy here, giving guys days off. And the people coming in have played well and allowed the Dodgers to succeed.
On the ground is short. Rangers are done hitting here in the top of the 6th, but they opened up with back-to-back jacks. It was Nelson Cruz and Hank Blaylock taking them out. It's 6-1 Rangers. is our Flomax replay. The ball hit by Miguel Tejada, pursued by Nelson Cruz. This went to a booth review. And they ultimately decided, yep, home run. Number 5 this year for Miguel Tejada. Scott Feldman continues pitching for the Rangers, and, well, that hit that he allowed to Tejada, one of only 2 hits he's allowed all game. Edwin Masonette to pinch hit right now, so pitcher spot in the order due. And Scott Feldman, who last year was not supposed to be a starter, ended up being a starter and was probably the Rangers' most consistent starter. This year he got squeezed out of the rotation. From out of spring training, the Rangers went with the veteran Chris Benson off the top. Benson got hurt, had to miss a start. Feldman stepped in, pitched well. Then did it again and again and again, and here he is. So look at Wesley Wright in the Houston bullpen.
But you hear so many times stories about guys getting opportunities because of injuries or somebody getting a day off and then them taking that opportunity and running with it. And that's what Scott Feldman has done. And he's really anchored this staff. He's been reliable.
And Chris Benson's become like the Wally Pipp of number 4 starters.
I don't know if I'd these two are the same. No, I don't know if I'm watching Lou Gehrig pitch right now, but
the point is, you snooze, you lose.
Yep.
Benson couldn't make a start. Feldman takes the ball, and number of runs he's allowed his last 5 starts now. It's been 3, then 2, then 1, then a couple of zeros, and now a 1 again.
Well, it'd be interesting to watch him right now, or this inning, next inning. This is when Ron Washington has said that where Feldman runs into a little trouble sometimes.
Not a lot of trouble yet for Feldman. He's got that 2-hitter still going. All right, back to our Gillette Power trivia answer. Most career errors in interleague play. You got a guess? No, it's Miguel Tejada, ladies and gentlemen.
34.
Really?
Oh, man, that's wow.
Probably about 3 a year, I guess. Maybe a little bit more than that.
I think he probably beat me by about 33. Yeah. Just kidding. Well, you figure it had to probably be a middle infielder, somebody with a lot of opportunities.
A lot of opportunities, that's right. Well, we've talked about defense a good deal today. The Rangers finally getting it right after all this time. And again, a lot of attention being paid to Elvis Andrus at short. Michael Young has done a real nice job at third base, too. Hank Blaylock plays that position today. Michael Young, again, with the sprained foot. But you make one move, and you basically improve 2 positions, I think is what the Rangers were looking at. Michael Young won the Gold Glove last year in this league, in the American League. At short, Michael Bourne down on strikes. So to move Michael Young, move a Gold Glover 40 feet down the road. First blush is, why do you do that? But hey, Chris Rose, did you know about Twitter? Are you down with the program here?
I'm doing it right now.
Oh, you are?
I just tweeted that Michael Bourne was wearing a microphone for us today on Fox.
Oh.
Yeah, and he had it on the back of his belt. So I hope he doesn't fall backward on us. We cannot afford that. So you'll see that picture momentarily.
And fans are encouraged to use Twitter to stay connected to Fox Baseball. Tejada lifting it to right. Nelson Cruz can't get it, and that is a foul ball, not by much. And there's the mic of which we speak, Michael Bourne.
See, I don't lie, guys. Karos, did you tweet anything interesting today?
No, but I didn't tweet anything. But you know that mic right there that Bourne is wearing. You know, guys, it became almost like a superstition. If you wore it and you had a hit your first time up, boy, you're going to be chattering the rest of the game. You know, you wear. But I'll tell you what, if you didn't get a hit that first time up, that thing was off. You're not wearing it anymore. I've had enough because you blame it on the mic.
Did you ever wear one for Fox?
I did. As I said, that thing came off a number of times after that first 0 for 1.
That's good. So that's how you got an internship here, and then eventually this job.
That's how I got to this booth probably a few years earlier than I wanted to.
So next year we'll see Josh Lewin and Michael Bourne. That'll be nice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's very likely. But follow us at twitter.com/MLB on Fox. All you Twitterati out there. Fox's MLB announcers tweet throughout the week. Lance Berkman, who spent some quality time with our Chris Rose before the game today. Of course, it's always quality time.
I was going to say, is there anything other than quality time?
If you spend it with Chris, no, it's all real good. Miguel Tejada has 2 of the 3 Houston Astros hits today. And with Berkman coming up, and you mentioned it, Eric, I mean, as well as it's gone so far for Scott Feldman, that third time around when the hitters can start to make an adjustment or two, that's when Ron Washington knows, all right, got to be at least getting the radar ready, get the antenna up.
We have to be ready, and probably Feldman gets a bit more rope right now because he's been staked to a 5-run lead. But with one swing of the bat, Berkman can make this a 3-run ball game.
Well, and yesterday, with the Rangers seemingly in command, it was 5-0, as a matter of fact, in the 6th inning. Berkman walloped one off of Derek Holland. You saw that note on Lance Berkman, his dad, a big Mickey Mantle fan growing up. And Mick was a switch hitter, and by golly, Lance was going to be a switch hitter. Feldman pitching carefully to Berkman. You've got Carlos Lee on deck. Still throwing 92 is Scott Feldman. It was on a 3-1 count to Berkman, a homered in the 6th last night. This time, right back to Scott Feldman. Berkman spikes his bat. Not happy. 6-1 Texas. Scott Feldman will get another chance to swing the bat. The Rangers will get at least another inning out of Scott Feldman going forward. He's working on a 3-hitter. Now he'd actually like to do some hitting. Again, he's a guy that prides himself on his ability to swing the stick, but he's got to go lefty-lefty here.
Well, and he's earned the right to get another at-bat, to go out on the hill and pitch another inning. He's got the 6-1 lead. And what that also does is maybe give that bullpen a bit of a rest. Aaron O'Day pitched yesterday. Frank Francisco, as we spoke to Ron Washington, the closer that just came back, he threw yesterday as well.
Yeah, no way that Frankie Francisco was going to pitch all 3 games of this weekend series. He needed 1 day off, and the way this one's shaping up for now anyway, it could be today, but well, the Astros have some thump, and they already have proven they can come back quickly. They did that yesterday. So put it this way, it's the kind of game where Ron Washington is hoping that it doesn't involve Frankie Francisco, because then he's fully available tomorrow.
Yep. But as you mentioned, Astros came back from 5 runs down yesterday to tie the ball game.
Wave and a miss. And down goes Feldman. Folks, tomorrow, NASCAR on Fox will be in Charlotte, North Carolina. Casey Kane tries to defend his title against a full field of the world's best drivers. Coverage of the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte begins tomorrow at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific in high def, right here on Fox. The switch hitting Omar Vizquel, 2 for 3 today. And again, at 42 years old, he is a veteran influence on an otherwise very young team. Getting a chance to bring along Elvis Andrus is just part of what Omar Vizquel brings to the Rangers, I think. You got a 20-year-old who grew up idolizing Omar in Venezuela. And today, with Vizquel actually playing second base, Eric, it is Andrus and Vizquel turning double plays together.
And Omar has had a very professional approach in that he still feels like he can play. I mean, he knows, not feels, he knows that he could play every day at this level still and be effective.
On appeal, no swing. A lot of face time for Phil and Colbert right now. El Terremoto, they called him in Venezuela, the earthquake. Always moving. Let that old saw about age being just a number, though. As Omar Vizquel hangs out with these guys in their 20s, he himself appears to have found that fountain of youth. Going to send it back. He was very happy to see all the rookies on the Rangers get dressed up in the full-on 70s style. There's Elvis Andrus in the middle. You can't miss him with the blonde wig. At the Rangers triple play game show event for charity the other night. Those are some fine-looking Ron Burgundy-like costumes they had going. Omar was beaming like a proud father during that. Matsui had to navigate around the umpire to get back there, and then, as it turns out, Hunter Pence makes the catch anyway. One of the charities that both the Rangers and the Astros are involved with, Boys and Girls Clubs, the official charity of Major League Baseball, reaching more than 4 million kids worldwide. Together, they create a positive place for kids. Chemistry, I would think, isn't something you can force, right, Eric? I mean, the Rangers guys coming together, and Chris Davis actually captained that song that they ended up performing, karaoke style. But you can't just say, okay, guys, you're a bunch of young guys, go, have chemistry.
No, you know, and it is created. And, you know, I was talking to Josh Hamilton. They reinstated the kangaroo court this year. They didn't have it at all last year. The judges are some of the older guys on the team. Kevin Millwood.
And Eddie Guardado's in on that. Yeah.
What the Kangaroo Court institutes quote-unquote fines for if you're late or you didn't stretch or you didn't get a runner over, those sorts of things, and some other comical things as well. Yeah. But again, just another representation of a team coming together.
Murphy swings, doesn't get it. Nice inning for Wesley Wright. 7th inning stretch here in Houston, and it's 6-1 Rangers. Limited time only. By Craftsman. There's a craftsman in all of us. And by Hulu. An evil plot to destroy the world. Enjoy. Carlos Lee will lead it off. Scott Feldman will continue on the mound. The Rangers, again, trying to show that it's not just about the hitting, it's about the pitching and the defense, too. Feldman's working on a 3-hitter today. And El Caballo. Boy, I love him here in Houston. Carlos Lee. Briefly a Texas Ranger, just kind of a stop by. Rangers also got Nelson Cruz in that deal, and he ended up being the keeper. Albus Andrus makes the play on Carlos Lee. We're talking a little bit this inning about the Astros and what they do going forward here in 2009. Let's bring in Ken Rosenthal.
Josh, Eric, while Astros owner Drayton McClain hates to concede, he needs to recognize that his team would benefit from a sell-off of veterans. For now, closer Jose Valverde remains the Astros' most attractive piece, but Roy Oswalt could bring an even greater return. Now, Oswalt is in decline. He also has a full no-trade clause, but the industry-wide shortage of quality starting pitching would make him attractive to any number of contenders.
Thank you, Kenny, and you can check Kenny out as always at foxsports.com for his hot sports opinions. Now, Roy Oswalt and these Astros right now, I'm sure Drayton McClain doesn't want to think about something like a fire sale or anything that even smells like a fire sale right now. They're at 18-22. But Roy Oswalt, I would think, even though he's only got one win this year, well, that's a guy that would definitely be in command or in demand. Usually he's in command.
Yeah, you know, I think, though, with the Astros, they still feel like there's a lot of baseball left. And because of what they were able to do last year and where they are in the standings right now, look, it's not unrealistic that they can't get back into this thing. Sure, they're at the bottom of the National League Central, but 6 games out in the loss column.
Well, and remember last year how they were able to just kind of turn it on late in the season. They made a heck of a run last year.
And that's good and bad. The good thing is, okay, we did it before. The bad thing is we did it before. And to think that that's going to happen again, or to count on that, not so sure I'd be putting all my eggs in a basket for that. But what they do have is Oswalt will pitch better. You see where Houston 7 back, 6 back in the loss column. The problem with that, though, is you've got 5 teams ahead of you.
Saltalamacchia called off by Feldman, who will throw it down the right field line. An awkward angle, and it should go as a hit and an error.
Just a bad play all the way around. Feldman running away from first base towards home. Doesn't have a play. Saltalamacchia is going towards first base. He has the play in front of him. That's his ball all the way. Now Saltalamacchia has to be more pronounced. He's got to say, I got it, scream it, make it vocal. If he gets it and doesn't make the play, oh well. But Feldman in that situation has no chance.
Single and an E1. It's only the 3rd error this year made by a Ranger pitcher. Last year they led the big leagues. Made 21 from that position. Wave and a miss by Blum.
Yeah, that's more, I would call that more of a mental error. Obviously the physical part, you threw it away, but mentally you've got to understand the catcher is the player that has to make that play.
First time the Astros have had a runner in scoring position all day. And it's in the 7th inning. 2 strikes on Blum.
But you just can't say enough about the way Scott Feldman has thrown today. In this offense, while they don't score a lot of runs, speaking about the Astros, they do have a number of hitters that have been productive this year. Have the first runner in scoring position. We're in the 7th. Been a great outing.
Pitch number 93 was at 93 miles an hour right there, in on Blum. Pudge Rodriguez on deck. With a crowd of 36,019 watching on. Had 36,017 here yesterday, so 2 more people showed up. A little high, 2-2. Once again, the Astros, who had a bad start in 09, trying to get their sea legs under them, and it is a wide open NL Central. Runner going second to third, and the ball fouled down that right field line. Hunter Pence trailing 6-1. He's off and running.
Well, it feels as if nobody's paying attention, and there isn't any jockeying with the shortstop or obviously the second baseman in that situation. And if he can get to third base with 1 out, contact will allow him to score.
The Rangers have been blasting away with home runs today. They've got a pair from Nelson Cruz and 1 from Hank Blaylock. The Astros run today was a home run from Miguel Tejada. Boy, something's got to give in this at bat at some point. Blum just keeps turning on everything Feldman throws and fouling it down that first base line. We're seeing an 8th pitch of the at bat coming up.
Well, and to Feldman's credit, he's continuing to throw strikes. Again, that's something that, Mike Maddox, the pitching coach, has emphasized, to pound the strike zone, involve your defense. See Hunter Pence with the dirty uniform in the lead.
Always. Like Darren Erstad back in the day. Of course, Erstad now on the Astros as well. Be like the 2nd or 3rd inning every game. Darren Erstad would have that brown jersey. Turning on it, and this time Blum sails it away. Deep drive, right field. He wins out with a home run. And it breaks a long homerless drought for Blum. The longest of his big league career, as a matter of fact. And boy, he earned that. Foul ball after foul ball, and then finally this.
They try and go inside. The ball creeps a little bit over the middle of the plate. But as a hitter, when you continue to foul pitches off, what you're doing is you're prolonging the at-bat and you're enabling, as I say, enabling the pitcher to make a mistake. Eventually, Scott Feldman leaves one over the plate. He's not happy about it. But again, there's one extra run there as a result of him going after that bunt and not letting Saltalamacchia attempt to make that play.
We saw Darren O'Day getting loose in the Ranger bullpen. Pudge Rodriguez bats now in a 6-3 game. Blum hadn't homered in 177 at-bats. But he just hit one, we're told, 385 feet. And the Astros are back in this thing here, 6-3.
Well, and that's the thing about this ballpark, 5 or 6 runs. It's really not a comfortable lead unless there's 3 outs in the 9th inning. And this plays, it's a small ballpark. Gives up a lot of home runs, an expansive outfield from left to center. You can put up a crooked number real quick here.
Feldman facing a guy here with 300 career home runs, Pudge Rodriguez. And Pudge marches away down on strikes. Catchers with 300 home runs. That's a rarity. Here's your guy, Johnny Bench.
I don't know what Mike's doing in a Dodger hat there.
Pudge Rodriguez, who has worn that Ranger uniform so well. And then, as you mentioned earlier, on to the Marlins, the Tigers, the Yankees of all teams last year. That seemed a little wheels off for a lot of Ranger fans, but now back home in Texas as a Houston Astro. Matsui jumps away from one. They honored Pudge Rodriguez before the game today, having hit that 300th home run at Wrigley Field. Very well done ceremony. Note that Rudy Jaramillo, his hitting coach for all those years with the Rangers, is part of the ceremony. Nice that the Astros would ask him to be a part of that. Pudge didn't sign until mid-March this year. He went to the World Baseball Classic to play for Puerto Rico and proved that, he still has plenty left to give. Matsui's going to take a walk, and Saltalamacchia going back to retrieve it as it got away from him. Pudge still not enjoying his at-bat. It's a 24-pitch inning for Feldman.
Well, and again, as we spoke to manager Ron Washington prior to the game, this is the type of thing that historically Feldman has done. Around the 3rd time around, he runs into trouble. Guys start to figure him out. And here he just got tired. But a great job.
Darren Erstad announced as a pinch hitter. Ron Washington goes to the mound to get Feldman. to the start of last season. Just as these players keep their teams in the game, you too can stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. Darren O'Day not appearing on that list, but if the Rangers keep him around, he probably will. This guy has been quite a find coming over from the New York Mets organization. He was a straight-on waiver claim by the Rangers. And so far, so great for Darren O'Day with that ERA of $1.69.
Yeah, he's really fit in nicely into this bullpen. And Ron Washington has used him in a number of situations. Now that Frankie Francisco is back as a closer, O'Day slots nicely into that 7th and 8th inning.
Jeff Fulcino getting ready in the Astros bullpen. And the Rangers finally do go to their bullpen after Scott Feldman gave them 6 2/3 innings. And Eric, you made a great point. If Feldman let Jared Saltalamacchia field that little squibber out in front of home plate, very likely he gets through 7 innings, and it's 6-1, not 6-3. Got the top of the order, Michael Bourne on deck. This is the pitcher's spot in the order. Darren Erstad off the bench trying to get something done. Pinch hitting has not really been a strength for the Astros yet this year. They're 8 for 60 off the bench. This is a veteran guy, though, Darren Erstad.
But a guy that, you know, an everyday player for so many years, not really your utility guy that has been accustomed to pinch hitting. It's very tough. You know, a guy like Jeff Blum on this team, a guy that isn't always an everyday guy over the years, that's the type of guy you would want coming off your bench, but you know, he's been thrust into an everyday position.
Still a very intense, very gritty player, Darren Erstad. And very likable, I think, too, EK. He talks about the privilege of wearing a big league uniform. I like that.
Well, he fits nicely into, you know, that quote-unquote, people like to describe old school type of player, a guy that's going to come and work every day, respects the game, plays at a certain level, with a certain intensity.
I think maybe the best way to explain Erstad's attitude in the Cape Cod League back in 1993. He had a part-time job. Everybody had to have a part-time job in that league, right? He worked at a department store for some spending money, and he was employee of the month when he was there. I mean, most guys just go there because they have to. They're told you got to work. Runner goes, and that is ball 4. The Houston Astros will have the tying man coming up all of a sudden, Michael Bourne. Rangers out in front 6-3 because of the long ball. Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball, congratulating Nelson Cruz. He's today's Clutch Performer of the game, presented by Pepsi. You can learn more about the MLB Clutch Performer of the Month award at PepsiClutch.com. They used to dig the last name Cruz here in Houston for Jose Cruz. Nelson Cruz on display today. Now, Darren O'Day with that drop-down style. It's confusing, I guess, for a right-hand swinger, but a lefty probably gets a pretty good look here, I would think.
Well, it gets a good look, and I think, you know, in youth leagues and maybe college, you know, that sidearm delivery is used to institute some fear in the hitter. At the big league level, it's used to create movement on the pitches. You know, so a right-handed hitter is going to run down and into you. A left-handed hitter should run away from you.
Slapped down the third baseline foul.
But this is interesting because Michael Bourne, a guy that likes to put the ball on the ground, utilizes speed. Darren O'Day, with his type of movement, the way he throws the ball, induces a lot of ground balls. Obviously, O'Day with the advantage now, working ahead in the count, 0-2.
Got him! Michael Bourne strikes out. The Rangers keep the lead. It is 6-3 at the end of 7. The Astros are coming back today. They had trailed 6-1. It is now 6-3. Remember, they made up 5 runs yesterday, forced extra innings. Josh Hamilton puts the first one in play against Jeff Fulchino. That's a new pitcher for the Houston Astros right now, getting into his 11th game of the season. The Astros have done a decent job keeping down Josh Hamilton in this series so far. But can they tame Nelson Cruz? He's got 3 home runs in his last 4 at-bats. Challenging Cruz with a fastball has not been a good idea, so no fastball, at least not to start, from Fulchino. Same pitch, same place.
Yeah, 2 breaking balls up in the zone. You've got to throw something that is not a strike out over the plate, off of the plate, I should say.
Eddie Guardado getting ready.
Yeah, something that Cruz can't get to.
Now back with the heat and struck him out. Time for the Hulu game summary. Well, the Rangers still all about the long ball. Miguel Tejada has become about the long ball again. Jeff Blum had a long homerless drought going back to last September, but he's on the board now. Game summary brought to you by Hulu, an evil plot to destroy the world. Enjoy.
Well, you know, we just looked at that in the game summary, obviously highlighting the home runs. No question about that, but I think really the performance today, you know, the great performance rests on the shoulders of Scott Feldman and what he did today. Allowing that home run in the first inning, but really settling down and allowing his offense to take control of the game.
Pitching does set a tone, and the Rangers, I mean, it's been a process to get them there collectively, but from Kevin Millen on down this year.
I mean, and pitching, it's everything. I mean, if you have, it impacts the way you approach the plate as a hitter. It impacts what you do out there on the field defensively. There's Mike Maddox, who's done a fantastic job just pounding that message of throw, strikes, work fast. Your defense stays involved. If you've got 1- and 2-run games, your offense then is involved. When you're down 7-8 runs, offensively it's tough to hit. The pitcher on the other team can do whatever they want to do. And you can't say enough about a guy that just gets the ball, goes out on the mound, and throws strikes.
Well, and Maddox and Nolan Ryan are in agreement about the whole no excuses, just pitch philosophy. The world doesn't want to hear the labor pains. It just wants to see the baby, right?
Well, you know, Ron Washington had a great line when he was in Oakland. He made the comment, you do or you don't, you will or you won't.
Blaylock with a base hit to left. And that's the thing. There are so many built-in excuses, especially when you're playing home games in Arlington, where it's 104, 105 degrees a lot. And yes, it's a hitter's park and all that. I mean, there's plenty of built-in reasons why you can't. And Nolan Ryan basically wrote in and said, well, I don't want to hear any of them.
And it's great. I mean, and like I said, Wash adheres to that philosophy. It's something that the way he's approached the game as a player, as a coach, and now as a manager. I'll say it again. You do or you don't, you will or you won't.
Even if those things didn't rhyme, I mean, that's very true.
Good. I mean, it applies to everything.
I'm not a Star Wars geek, I swear, but what was the Yoda thing? Do or do not. There is no try. Either you get it done or you don't get it done.
Did I see you at a Star Wars convention?
No. It was somebody else. Wave and a miss by Davis as we check the Hyundai in-game box score for the Rangers. Introducing the all-new 306 horsepower real-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe. Driving right to a Star Wars convention. Two strikes to Davis, and down he goes. He is now struck out in 10 of his last 12 trips to the plate. The Astros back to within 6-3. They've got Berkman coming up. or used car dealer, just say, "Show me the Carfax." Eddie Guardado, they used to call him Everyday Eddie Guardado, and he was pitching for the Minnesota Twins and even the Seattle Mariners. It's not so much every day now, although he probably could, but the Rangers have used him 14, now 15 times this year. They're trying to keep it 6-3 Texas here in the 8th.
You know, if ever there was a guy that epitomized the philosophy of just throw strikes and work fast, it's this guy, Eddie Guardado. I mean, when he was throwing well as a closer a few years ago, that's all he did, just get it and throw strike. Didn't have great stuff, but man, strike one all the time.
Tejada with a bunt, and it's back to the net. You saw Michael Young getting ready. He'd love to be out there today, but he went in awkwardly at first base early in the game last night. They took x-rays. No big whoop. It's a sprain. Well, Michael Young doesn't like to miss baseball games.
No, but you know, it's always funny. You know, he took x-rays and there's no break. Well, that doesn't make it feel better. No. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. I always used to find that funny. Oh, well, yeah, x-ray. Well, no.
Right, because there's not a clean break, you're fine. So
yeah, exactly.
Right. Ian Kinsler held out of the lineup today, too. The Rangers normally have both Young and Kinsler. That nickel and dime combination, number 5 and number 10. Popular players for the Rangers, but Texas trying to win without him today. And it's all up to the bullpen from here.
You know, there's a difference, though. Michael Young, you know, available, just couldn't go because of the ankle, but he is available. You know, Ian Kinsler, as you mentioned earlier, getting the mental day off as you see Chris Benson warming up in the bullpen. And when you're giving a mental day off, as quote-unquote Ian Kinsler is being given, you shouldn't be used at all.
Full day off, right?
Full day off. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to go in the 9th inning with the game on the line.
Well, you've been told, right, by Ron Washington, just disconnect completely from this whole scenario here today.
You assume that's the way it goes, right. But you know, there's nothing that says that Ron Washington can't call on you in the 9th. But again, if the reason he's not playing is just to give him a mental break, you don't put him in the game or put him in a situation where the game hinges on his performance.
High drive towards Hamilton in center. And Tejada, the first out here in the 8th inning. The Hyundai in-game box score for the Astros. Check it out right here. Introducing the all-new 306 horsepower. Real-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe.
You know, you see real trouble at the top of the lineup. Michael Bourne has been so steady this year. You know, 0 for 4, and then that power spot. And the guy that really this offense is built around, Lance Berkman, 0 for 3.
And Berkman takes up too high. Outside, Carlos Lee on deck. Outside corner. Chipped past the mound. Omar Vizquel playing second base today. He'll make the play. And Eddie Guardado, a guy that does not throw 90, but he will challenge real good hitters with an 85, 86 mile an hour fastball.
Well, he challenges guys, and you know, usually at this stage of his career uses those hitters' aggressiveness, or uses the hitters' aggressiveness against him. You know, Lance Berkman twice today, 3-1 pitches and ground ball to second, a weak broken bat ball back to the pitcher. You see Lanny talking to Mike Hampton there. But that's when you know you're struggling. I mean, this is one of the best hitters in the last decade. 2-3-1 pitches not well.
Hamilton gliding over, makes the catch, and Eddie Guardado pitches a 1-2-3/8 inning. It stays 6-3 Texas on Fox. Rangers shout right back today. They've got a 6-3 lead as we go to the 9th inning. Jared Saltalamacchia takes up and outside. Rangers doing it old school today with the long ball. Pair of home runs from Nelson Cruz for 4 runs batted in. Hank Blaylock has 3 hits, including a home run. And again, the pitching, yes, absolutely is making a difference for this Texas ball club. Scott Feldman went into the 7th inning today, and he's on line for the win. Saltalamacchia towards center, and Michael Bourne won't get it. 11 base hits for Texas today, the first for Saltalamacchia. The other part of that Mark Teixeira trade that's getting a lot of attention, not just Saltalamacchia, but Elvis Andrus. Teixeira now a New York Yankee, of course. The Yankees about to come to Arlington to play the Rangers. But first, this Lone Star Series, Rangers and Astros, has become an annual tradition thanks to Interleague Baseball.
Well, you mentioned the Yankees playing the Rangers pretty soon. I think it's going to be a real test to see Marlon Byrd on deck for this Ranger ball club over the next 20 or so games after this Houston series. Play the likes of the Yankees 6 times, Boston, Toronto, the LA Dodgers.
Chop ball, and Berkman going to second for 1. On to first, not in time. Elvis Andrus beats it out. And Marlon Byrd will come on up now.
A nice job by Berkman. You see him grab the ball, the runner on the outside part of the plate. You see Tejada catches it on the inner half of the bag, so there's no interference from the runner. Berkman has a clear path to make that throw. Tejada grabs it, throws to the pitcher, unable to beat Andrus first base.
So Bird off the bench. He will check and take the strike. A game that the Astros had started by Brian Moeller today, and he was perfect through 3 innings. Then that second time around, the Rangers started to get to him. By the way, a direct TV game break coming up very soon. Talking about the Yankees just a moment ago. They had a very exciting finish. Strike 2 to Marlon Byrd. Well, the Yankees are starting to get hot again.
I don't think it's any coincidence with the return of Alex Rodriguez. And, you know, not only what he does as a player every day physically, but, you know, he takes all of the focus off of the other players, off of everybody else, whether it's a Mark Teixeira, Sabathia, Melky Cabrera, any of the other players. And I don't think it's coincidence that those guys have had a lot of success since he's returned.
You saw the other Rodriguez, of course, Alex Rodriguez and Pudge Rodriguez were teammates, not just with the Yankees, but with the Rangers. Both of them very charismatic, but while Ranger fans just so fell in love with Pudge Rodriguez, boy, they just never did take to Alex. Andrews goes, and Bird puts it in play with the runner in motion that keeps the Rangers out of a double play. Now that direct TV game break with Chris Rose.
All right, guys, drama in the Bronx. In the 9th, down 2 with a man on. A-Rod against former Astros closer Brad Lidge. An A-bomb for A-Rod. That's right, 7 homers in his 10 hits this year. But later in the inning, it's Mel Cabrera with his 3rd walk-off hit of the season. RBI double scores Robinson Cano. Yanks have won 10 of their last 11. Remember to follow your favorite Major League team only on DirecTV. They're jumping for joy in the Bronx.
Thanks, Chris. The Yankees, yeah, they are starting to get it right now, and a lot of exciting finishes. Over which John Sterling can lose his mind. So Omar Vizquel trying to make it a little bit easier in the bottom of the 9th for the Ranger bullpen. And Vizquel slaps it towards left. Interesting call now for Ron Washington. It is a save situation. He doesn't want to have to bring in Frankie Francisco today. What do you do? 6-3. cooler today, but outside it looks like a fairly decent late afternoon towards the evening. Inside here, it is C.J. Wilson asked to close this out for Texas. Frankie Francisco would be normally the guy that would be entrusted with a 6-3 lead, but C.J. Wilson has been there, done that. He too can close out games.
Well, yeah, he has done a nice job, and especially as of late, got off to a rough start this year. Had an ERA of almost 11, but his last 15 outings, a 1.98 ERA, really throwing effectively.
Opens with the Arlington, Texas native Hunter Pence. And for C.J. Wilson, it was really just one bad game that fluffed up the ERA. Gave up 6 runs in Detroit. Ground ball here. Elvis Andrus smothers it. Gets up, fires, saves the call.
Andrus makes a nice play, just getting to the ball, and then gets up, makes a good, strong throw. But as we mentioned earlier, Hunter Pence, one of the best young athletes in the game. I see Andrus gets up, does everything he can, and if you've got an average runner, he makes that play. But Hunter Pence striding down there, getting that last lunge, and give me another step there, and it's about a tie base. For those Ranger fans or those that broadcast the Rangers, they probably thought he was out. Josh.
I thought it was a good call, actually.
Okay, good.
Question my integrity, sir. Jeff Blum, the batter. Jeff Blum already has a homer in this game. That was a long at bat, too. And they won out against Scott Feldman. Now trying to get it done against C.J. Wilson. And we mentioned Wilson just had that one bad inning in Detroit. The Rangers have had a bunch of bad games against Detroit.
0-6 in Detroit, right?
Yeah, 0-6 against the Tigers. And that's why the Angels are still hanging around right now. The Rangers otherwise are 24-11.
You see this pitch just down and into the right-hander. Blum swings over the top of it. It's a good pitch as long as it's low. Don't want it up in the zone.
Slowly hit. Blaylock. Whoa. Got it there in time. So Pudge Rodriguez will bat, but not as the tying man. Look at what's happening next week on Fox Saturday Baseball. There's also a game in Tampa Bay next week that some of you may see.
Well, thank you for that, Josh.
Well, I know you're going there, so I just didn't want you to think you were getting on the wrong plane. The producer of today's game, by the way, Jeff Gowan. Our director, the great Bill Webb. The associate director, Charles McDonald. Broadcast associate, Yvonne Wagner. Our technical producer, Dan Rotante. Pre-game show produced by Don Bowie. The highlights coordinator, Janice Casaza. Pudge Rodriguez, a drive. Josh Hamilton going back. Wrong part of the ballpark right there for Pudge. Our studio technical supervisor is Jack Simmons. Supervisor of remote field operations, Jerry Steinberg. The senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports are, as always, Ed Gorin and David Hill. Two down, bottom 9. And the Astros need another base runner. Strike on the outside edge. Ground ball, third base. And Omar Vizquel steps on second to end it. The Rangers have beaten the Astros. They did it yesterday 6-5. They have done it today 6-3. We'll be back to Houston in just a moment to wrap it up on Fox.